So I was kind of like everybody else. When people pass, it causes you to stop a little bit and look at things in a more honest way. For me, as somebody who is a leader within this church, there is a level of accountability that I have. And one of the worst things I could ever do is stand up here and tell you all the cool things about heaven and never help show you how to get there. Death is unfortunately will meet all of us. And that's not a big deal when you're a Christian because death has already been conquered. The big deal is we are on limited time. What are we doing with it? We all have a start date and an end date, and all you have in between is a dash. What are we doing with our lives? We are the only people on earth that has the opportunity to reach anybody else. They have access to the Word and everything else online if they want, but at face value, it is us. We have a job. I will say confidently, and Jake could say confidently, getting to be a part of the Deacon board, I get to know members a little better. We ask them and let them to explain to us who Jesus is to them. Mike was a believer. He's waiting for us up there. On top of that, Mike had situations in life. He had strokes, things that limited his thinking, but did not limit his faithfulness. Mike figured out a way. He wanted to serve. He cleaned the church and stuff. He figured out a way to be useful with whatever tools he had. His heart was in the right place. He might have struggled with his mind some, but his heart is what carried him through. He was at every function. I would like to encourage you all to also live the same style of life. We're all examples to each other. One of the biggest fears is for me to look at any of y'all and hug you every Sunday, and for you to get to the gate and get stuck with two options. Depart from me, for I never knew you, or well done, my faithful servant. The world tells us that we live in gray areas. They don't want any definites. I mean, the world's pretty screwed up. People can't even figure out what gender they are. And that was one of the first things he created, heaven and earth, male, female. The world is distorted. We have the only absolute. We can't sugarcoat it because we can see and feel the world. There's been shifts that's happening, people's selfishness being unchecked to an extent where people are putting themselves above God. I mean, abortion. You are having somebody choosing their will over God's will. You have gender. You're having people deprived from even the opportunity of being married, have kids, see the blessings of life, see the fruitfulness. The devil's stealing it from them. And we're the ones that have that opportunity. So I would like to start us out in Matthew 6. We're going to go through 6, 22 and 23 to start, and then hop over to Ephesians. So when I was trying to come up with a little header, because my dad tells me to do stuff like that, it said, I headlined it as Keeping Our Eyes on the Path to Heaven. In Matthew 6, 22, it starts with, the eyes is the lamp of the body, so if your eyes is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light is in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? Here's the black and white of it. No one can serve two masters, for they will either hate one or love the other, or they will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. You can't serve God and any other masters. It don't matter what you put in between. Money is in the ESV version. King James probably has any other gods before me. God is trying to clear it up for us, what our goal is in this life. He tells us that our eyes are in a lot of control, right? Val was talking this a little bit this morning when I stepped in about covetousness. If we hop over in Ephesians, it's beautiful. God uses a lot of imagery, right? He uses it as light and darkness, which I think is really cool. Being a missionary kid, There wasn't a single culture I didn't hear about that did not have an understanding of light and dark. It's a way for people when they start searching. He tells you, I'm that light. So when they get to the book, hey, I'm that one that you've been looking for. Ephesians 5 in my Bible, it's listed as walk in love. God identifies himself as love. So as a Christian, Christian means Christ-like, and if he identifies himself as love, that is exactly what we're expected to walk with. So Ephesians 5 starts out as, therefore, be imitators of God as beloved children, and walk in love as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us, a fragrant offering and a sacrifice to God. He's telling us to walk in love and have a full understanding of his love is also what did it. Love does truly conquer everything. God tells us that love is meant to be submissive. He tells us in verse 3, it says, but sexual immoralities and all impurities or covetousness must not even be a name to you, as is improper for saints. One thing I started to read about or study a little more in depth is the word covenant and covenantous gets used a lot. And when you start to study that word, you start to realize that it's a very slippery slope. Most sin, if you look at it, is the starting point is probably covetousness. It's me, if I'm defying God, it's me saying I want to be like God. That's covenant what he's got. If it's me wanting what my neighbors have, that's covenant also. It's saying that what he gave me wasn't good enough, I want theirs also. It's the same thing when you go to sexual immoralities, people cheating, things like that. You are saying what God gave you wasn't good enough. It is. He gave you a partner to try to figure out how to love, because, I mean, it's hard to love people, and God loved us. So if he'd love us enough to die for us, I think we could learn how to love the people around us and protect them. In Matthew, I started out there because it says, the health of the eyes will determine the health of the body. So when you start looking at it in covetousness, and he tells me, well, my health is going to be determined on my eyes. My eyes are going to be a big part of it. So he's starting to help me realize I have limited portals for the devil to get access to me, in all honesty. It's my eyes and it's my ears. If I can control those things, I limit access. When it comes to covetousness, he's telling us it starts with the eyes. What's an easy way to not want what other people have? Thankfulness. It's really, he's laying out, this is the dark side, right? This is what you're going to be tempted by. This is what you're going to want. But he's telling you, you can't serve two masters. So you've got to choose. You don't get both. Heaven ain't this. Heaven has like this line around it, a fence. You don't get this luxury of life sitting on the fence of, all right, when I get close, I think I'm just going to lean that way. I'll probably fall in. No, it's how we walk in our life. It's us choosing God at every opportunity we get when we're reading the Bible, and it says, Bradley, you do not do that. And Bradley says, I want to anyway. That's sin. It is depriving God of the opportunity to teach us new ways of thinking about things, teaching us new strengths, how to lean on him, how to go through new struggles. You start in verse 3, and it lays out the things that we're up against. The same thing is control your eyes. Well, the second part is also don't be hindering other people. Let there be no filthiness or foolish talk, nor crude joking, which are out of place, but instead let there be thanksgiving. He tells us that we will struggle with covetousness, so how do we fight it? Thanksgiving. It's easy. I can't think about wanting anything you have if I'm looking at everything that God gave me and I didn't deserve it. I know, y'all will never know my sins. I truly know Bradley. I know the struggles I have. I know how far he's brought me. And I know how little I deserve because of that. But I still have things, and we slow down in life, and we just thank him. Lord, thank you for allowing me to wake today. Thank you for another opportunity to serve you. And taking those opportunities every day is an opportunity. In Psalms 90 something, It is 90, but within 90. It says, within wisdom, count your days. Why does he tell us to do that? Imagine if you got an expiration date and you look at every one of the people that you love. How intense would your drive be? It would change a lot, right? When we think we have all this time to spare and we can get to have our little bit of fun. And, one day I'll get to helping people. One day I'll start thinking other people deserve God's grace and the peace and the fruit. They deserve it just as much as I did. It's the same things we just got out of Revelations, right? So you start reading Revelations. Revelations is telling us exactly what every one of your friends, your family, my friends, my family will go through if I don't take it serious. If we don't take it serious. Revelations isn't meant to be, because 3:10 tells us if you have kneeled before him, if you've submitted yourself to Christ, you're spared from these things. So what it's telling you is, how can you look at that person you love and say, I'm okay with you going there? It's the reality. He told us we get to serve two masters. That's not only me, that's them also. They get one or the other. Revelations is, in my opinion, the world's best motivational speech. It tells you everything you don't want anybody to go through. It tells you don't know when it's going to come. So it tells you to run your race with intent, with intensity, chasing after it, as you don't know what your last day is. Why? Because you couldn't imagine somebody going through that. That is the scary reality we run into every time we have death occur in this life, is if it's a Christian, rejoice because they're home. But if we're still in the race, it's a reminder that people are unfortunately running out of time. And on our walk, this is how it kind of tells people how that we're going to reach them. We do have to be the light in the world. We have to be that exception. We have to be the one that is opposite of the world, which is selfless. We live in a world where selfishness is taking families nonstop. It's unbelievable how many friends I have at the brink of divorce and things like that, and it all comes down to just selfishness. Husbands' inability to die to themselves, and wives' inability to submit to their husbands. It is. It's the destructure of the family, and it's taken a lot of them. And it's unfortunate because just in Ephesians alone, you have where you get to 4, and it tells us to give thanksgiving. So it tells us that it's really hard for us to get off course if we're nonstop thanking Him. And when you're giving thanks for something, it's also a motivator to keep pushing. In verse 5, it say, "For you may be sure of this, that anyone who has sexually immoral or impure, or who has covetousness, that is an adultery, has no inheritance in the kingdom of Christ God. Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of these things the wrath of God comes upon the sons of disobedience. Therefore do not become partners with them, for at the time you were darkness, but now you are light in the world, in the Lord. Walk as children of the light, for the fruit of the light is found in the good of the right and true." One thing I found as I was, because as I'm reading these things, this all applies to me. It ain't preaching something that I ain't got to apply. As I studied more about thankfulness, because you have covetousness. Well, I don't want to be that guy, so I want to be the opposite, so I want to work on thankfulness. You start to find out thankfulness. With the practice of thankfulness, you're actually able to see some of your fruit in your life, and that gives you confidence, and it sees how sometimes the choices you make, allowing God to lead your life, it is the blessings. It's the same thing as when you're able to see those things. You have a friend or family come up and say, "Hey, I've got this life situation." We're able to point them to the Word, because the Word tells us to call out wrong for wrong and right for right. And if you really study the right, there's no falseness. There's no weak link in that. So what he's doing is tell us we have to depart from this world. We have to be that separation. It says take For it is shameful to even speak of things that they do in secret, but when anything is exposed by the light, it becomes visible. For anything that becomes visible in the light, therefore it says, awake, O sleeper, and rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. The easiest way to get light on things is, I've met a lot of people that will look at me and you can say, oh, the Bible says this, because you see it hindering them and do it out of place of love, and they said, well, I've never read that. Unfortunately, the Bible does tell us it says, study to show yourself approved. Just because you didn't read it, it doesn't change that it applies. A lot of people do, in all honesty, steer away from reading the truths of the Bible for that one reason, is they don't want the light. They don't want to have to change their life. Being a Christian ain't easy. I don't get to do what I want. But by not doing what I want, I actually truly get what I wanted out of life. Wife, kids, family, love. I mean, what else is the world searching for? And I don't deserve it. If you look at my life, I really don't deserve it. But he gave it to me. So I've got to be a good custodian. In verse 15 it says, look carefully then how you walk, not as wise, but unwise, but as wise, making the best use of your time, because the days are evil. Therefore do not be foolish, but understand that the will of the Lord is, and do not get drunk with wine, for that is debauchery, but be filled with the Spirit, addressing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody to the Lord with your heart, giving thanks always and for everything to God and the Father, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. When you read verse 15, it says, look carefully then how you walk. This is going to be my closing. I hope as you read the Bible and stuff, you don't think it's suggestions. Everything that is in the Bible that it tells you not to do, at the end of the day, we have no choice to choose our will over God's. Life is fragile. We do not know the time. So what I would like to do is I would like to challenge y'all. You don't know how much time you got left. Study the Bible. Build your confidence in the Word. Most people are scared to share His Word. Why? Because they don't have anything to back it. They can tell you what somebody else said, something else somebody read, but they're not taking the time to read it. Study it. If you don't know where to start in Matthew. Read the red letters. That's Jesus. The world, things are easily confused. Red letters are not confusing. When you read it, you feel it. It's just, there's something different. Start in Matthew. Work your way through to Revelations. The Old Testament has a lot of prophecies saying Jesus come. The red letter is Jesus, so heads up, he came. The next prophecy is going to be Revelations. It is telling us from Matthew to Revelations how to live your life, what to do with your gifts. It lays out about everything. Be intentional with your studying. Read with intentionality. Talk to people around you. The truth is, there is somebody that you talk to every day that's going to hell. It's the truth. We all run from it because it sucks to hear, but God's honest. The truth ain't fun, but it's at least what we got to work with, and it won't change how we look at it after the fact. Take those opportunities. Be the difference in the life, in this world. Be the light. Train and develop yourself in the Word. If you have a hard time understanding something, lean on somebody. There's not a single person in this church that won't help you to understand it better, help you to understand the application. We've got old men for younger men. We've got older ladies for younger ladies. Don't deprive yourself of the opportunity to learn from one another. The Bible tells us to be, when we enter in early into our faith and stuff, to disciple one another. Lean on these people and help develop yourself. Help buffer out the darkness within your light in your life so you can shine as bright as possible and study to show yourself approved. It's really hard for us to end up off the mark if we stay in His Word and stay thankful. Other than that, that's all I have.